been a minute since I've done a FNAF video, and the reason for that is because I fucking hate writing scripts. I don't think I'm particularly good at it, at least for the FNAF series. They're all scripted, and I just don't like writing scripts. So I've been putting off making any other videos because then I have to write scripts for them, which I hate doing. So we're doing a FNAF video, but I'm not gonna fucking script it. So, especially since I'm trying to make a cryptid video, but there's so much fucking research that's been going into that video that I just don't have the energy to do research for FNAF, a video game that's very old, that the more I research it, the more I hate. I don't even want to talk about it ever again. And FNAF 4 honestly is where I should have stopped, and that's gonna be my first point in this video. FNAF should have stopped at FNAF 4. It was the natural conclusion, and I know I've said that about almost every single game in this franchise so far, but I mean, that's the truth. Scott Cawthon said it was the end of Five Nights at Freddy's. It makes sense when you play the game. It's an end to the story, and it's not even a very satisfying end if you agree with the theory that it was all just a dream. So FNAF should have ended here. It would have been a good series finale. The style is very different. It's completely new. So it's a fun twist on an old similar concept. It shows amazing growth as Scott Cawthon as a game developer. Like, all these things are true, but the story is done. In my opinion, the story should have ended there. That's not what this video is about. This series is not about lore. I've talked about that so many times. This series is about, is FNAF made for kids? Is FNAF 4 made for kids? No. Do I think it's kind of where the series starts to change? Yes. I think that FNAF 4 is the last game in the series that I can comfortably say had no intention of a child audience, or like knowing that children were in the audience or catering to a child audience, which I do think some of the games do. The subject matter of every FNAF game is the same, kind of. Based on the three before it, this one does change up a little bit. It's still about child murders, kind of. It's still about the animatronics coming to kill you, kind of. If you want to take the lore and Scott Cawthon and all the hints and everything very seriously, this game is actually about a child dying and just having a final nightmare before he finally dies. So while that subject matter is, like, you know, fairly dark, it's not like too dark for kids to understand. I wouldn't call it like particularly spooky or particularly scary. My computer's being very loud, I'm sorry. The actual game part of it, where you're running from the animatronics, it's very, very similar. Being bullied by your older brother, like, it's all very base level things. And I think it sits kind of in line with the other FNAFs, if not a little bit weaker, honestly. Adding in the idea that none of this is real and it's just in the mind of a child kind of dampens everything. Even if it's not meant to, it does. It kind of cheapens everything you've done. And the idea that the monsters and everything are created by a child's imagination is kind of fun, but it's just hard to get behind a dream theory ever. I think this actually takes it up a notch, just a twinge, and that's only because of the change in animation. Because of the change in the way that the story is done, it does feel a little bit more sinister. You're not an adult who's eye level with the animatronics anymore. You're now a child who's getting lurched at like this. That does feel a little bit more intense to me, in my opinion. As for like actual true violence, I don't know about that. It's pretty much the exact same as all the other ones. Scary jump cut after something jumps out at you from the darkness. Like, that's very similar. There are even a lot of deaths that happen in this game that aren't quote-unquote violence. Like, a lot of times you get jump scared just by, like, sitting and waiting too long. Like, that to me doesn't really read as violence as much as, oh, you lost. So I think I said earlier that I would rate it higher. I think I'm gonna rate it a little bit lower, actually. I changed my mind. See, this is why I should script these. So I do think this is a little bit lower, actually, than the other ones, because I feel like the point is not dying anymore, the point is losing the game, I guess, if that makes sense. In my very first video, I talked about how the first FNAF felt like a roguelike to me because dying was the point. Dying was how you learned how to play the game. The new games don't feel like that at all, and I think FNAF 4 is where that started. By that point, we understood the point of the game. Like, we got it. Survive, don't die, like, we got it. And yes, there is still an element of you have to die in order to learn how to survive, but it's just not the same. It's not the same as FNAF 1. And I think that's why you have these deaths that aren't really the same. You have the deaths that are just like, oh, getting timed out. And we kind of had that with the puppet, but it's not the same. Like just waiting and just taking too long, not turning around. Like it just doesn't feel very scary to me. It's kind of like starting to do that tipping point where the horror is just becoming less horror. It's never going to be anything but a horror series realistically, but I think the horror from FNAF 1 to FNAF 4 is just incredibly different. Even though the games are on paper the same, the mechanics are different enough to make it feel like a different game. And I just think some of the mechanics in this game and the way the story's told kind of pulls it away from the edge of being creepy enough to scare children. FNAF 4 is scary. Yes, absolutely. It will scare children. Absolutely. I do think it is dumbed down slightly.
I always come.
As for humor in FNAF 4, not only did I not script this video, I also normally go back and at least watch somebody play through the entire game, and I haven't done that in months. I did that originally when I thought I was going to write a script for this video, and then haven't done it since then. I don't think there's a lot of humor in this game. I think there's practically none. If I'm remembering it right, there was a massive tonal switch for this game. I think because it was supposed to be the end, because it was supposed to be taken a lot more seriously, there's probably some humorous text hidden somewhere in there, and I think that the jump scare you get from the brother dressed up as Foxy is kind of meant to be funny, kind of meant to be like, haha, you're on edge. But if I'm remembering right, there's basically no humor at all in this game. So it's hard to rate whether it's for children or not for children, because I feel like the humor is just not there for this game. Again, it's like a different vibe. It's like very much like a, this is the end of my story, please listen to it, which is fair.
Michael, don't leave me here! Michael!
Oh, awesome. This leads directly into tone. The tone of the game, much more sinister, not necessarily creepy. I hope I explained myself well with this one. FNAF 1 was incredibly creepy, surrounded by like decrepit machines, and the building itself felt gross and dingy. Like you just felt like you were in a bad place. FNAF 4, you're in the house at least, so it does feel a little bit safer. As much as it's not supposed to, I think setting it in a child's bedroom in a house has to make you feel safer. Because even though things are coming to get you in your own room, which is a scary concept, you're safe in your room, mostly. The things are coming to get you in your room, not they are already in your room. To me, that makes a big difference. Because even though you're fending things off from you and you're fighting things off, that is still your home base, that is still your safe place. Accidental rhyme. The sinister tone comes more from the lack of humor. Jesus fucking Christ, can you calm down? I'm not even doing anything. I just have the monitor up for lighting. Are you okay? Good God. We might just have to carry on with that sound in the background. I'm sorry if you can hear it. Even though the tone feels a little bit more sinister and a little bit more creepy and a little bit more like, oh, there's truly bad things going on, it still does not hit the same way for me as FNAF 1 does. It feels like it takes itself a little bit too seriously, which again, I do understand. I do get why. I do think it's a good choice. Like, I'm not saying FNAF 4 is a bad game. It's not my favorite, but I think I've said that about every single game, and the ones after this are definitely not my favorite. So maybe I don't have a favorite FNAF game. Maybe it's the first one. Who knows? It just, in concept, does feel a little bit too much like, okay, time to get serious now. This is a serious game. Like, you better take me seriously. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I just don't think it has the same concept and the same feeling that FNAF 1 gives you. FNAF 1 makes you feel scared, and FNAF 4 makes you feel scared, but also if somebody's telling you, hey, you better be scared, like, you're gonna be less scared, I feel like. And that's what the kind of vibe I get from FNAF 4, like, hey, you better be scared of this. And it's kind of like, I am, but now that you said that, I'm kind of not taking it as seriously. I don't know. I'm also a natural contrarian, which is led me into a lot of issues in my life, honestly.
Was that the bite of 87?
The villains in this one are kind of nobody, kind of everybody. The villains, quote unquote, are of course the animatronics. Every time I say that, I say animatronics. The animatronics are quote unquote the villains simply because they are killing you, the main character, or the player character. I've said this before, I'll say it again, that does not actually truly make them villains. In every other game, Purple Guy, Michael Afton, the guy in the golden bodysuit, those are always considered the villains because they're the ones doing the actual murder. At least that's what I've argued in the past. In this game, there isn't really that. Like, you got your jerk of an older brother, you got your abusive dad. Like, those are all real life villains, but it's also like only hinted at. It's not really like the thing making you have these dreams. The dreams are because you're a child misinterpreting what it's like to go to Freddy Fazbear's Pizzeria, or whichever one it is in the timeline. So there almost aren't any villains. Again, except for your older brother, which does get you killed in the end as a result of his bullying, there's not truly a villain in this game at all. If we do want to talk about the animatronics though, as we already mentioned before, how I was talking about how they like leer over you, that is creepier than usual. And their design obviously gets more and more scary over time, so the point is to be like extra scary. There's way too many teeth. I do think this is kind of a point in the story for me where the designs get too much. Not like, oh, too scary! Just like, I can't take this seriously. FNAF 1, they just looked like animatronics mostly. FNAF 2, oh, scary, decrepit animatronics, and also the new ones that they're trying to put a face on. FNAF 3, that was kind of getting a little bit too much, but they were hallucinations, so it's fine, makes sense. But then with this one, I'm like, okay, I can't take this seriously anymore. Maybe that's my problem with FNAF 4. I can't take it seriously anymore. Or like, it just feels very self-aggrandizing sometimes. At some point, adding more to the animatronics does not make them scarier, it just makes them more confusing and hard to look at. Again, not in a scary way, just in like an artistic way. It's hard for me to look at them. Sometimes I can't even tell what I'm supposed to be afraid of because there's just so much shit going on, and that is true. So the villains are a lot weaker also. There's not even like a main villain that we can point to. It's all very weak to me. And again, it's because it's not really supposed to be for real. It's supposed to be a child's imagination. So I get the point in the actual story. That doesn't mean it makes me feel good like playing it. It doesn't feel anything to me. It feels a lot less than I'm used to. It could also be that this is fucking a lot of FNAF. This is the 4th game now. I don't have anywhere. Oh, I do have it written down. Look at that. I have a sticky note. July 23rd, 2015. It came out the same year, I think, as everything. Well, I don't know. FNAF 3 says March, so maybe not. But they came out in very quick succession. I think that's right. They came out so close to each other. FNAF Burnout, I fully believe, was probably real. That's so much FNAF in such a short amount of time. That's like very few months between each game. It was a very similar concept. The first 3 games were almost carbon copies of each other, and FNAF 4 breaks it up a lot. It's just very different. But again, this is just like kind of boring at this point. And then to tone down the villains, to tone down the violence, it kind of felt like a lot of nothing was happening. And again, I don't dislike this game. I think it's fine. I think the changes that were made were very great changes that were needed at the 4th game in this series at this point. But it does also feel like it's pulling away from that horror aspect that it was used to. And I think the horror element of it gets so watered down so soon after this. I think that the horror element kind of gets shoved to the side for lore and storytelling and oh my god, you'll never guess what happens next. And I feel like this is kind of the start of it. It's trying so hard to tell a story that the horror kind of takes a back seat, which is fine. But I do think that at later games, it takes such a back seat that it feels like it was so watered down that it was meant to not scare the kids anymore, or at least be at a kid's level of scary. And we're going to talk about the main character in this one for the first time. I talked a lot about in the first 3 games about having your main character be a full-ass grown man who has a capitalistic hellhole of a job is very important, that making it feel more adult. And this game is the first game that involves a child. Well, it doesn't involve a child, but is seen through the characteristics or the eyes of a child. And I think that is a very important change. Because again, I said this very much more thoroughly and well thought out because I scripted it in the first video. Looking through the eyes of your main character is the attitude you're supposed to take on. And having a child as your main character, I think naturally invites a child audience, whether you meant to or not. And the point of the story, I do understand, is that you're viewing all of these through the eyes of a child. That is the point. I do get it. But I do think it shows the shift in the narrative. And I think it'll come back and bite this franchise in the ass so bad later on. Having the children be your main focus only serves to water down your story. Because here's my thing, if your main character is a child, you can't kill them off. I mean, you can, but not really. Like in this game, the main child character, quote unquote, dies, but it's not really at the hands of the animatronics, it's more at the hands of his older brother. Like, he's scared of the animatronics, but that has nothing to do with how he actually died. And it's this kind of thing, it's like, you have a child murderer, but that's not the main focus of your story. Your main focus of the story is the animatronics. The animatronics don't really kill kids, at least not on purpose. Except for maybe Baby, but I don't like Baby at all, so. And it's just kind of this things where it's like, you're not gonna die now. Like, there's not really a fear of the child character dying, at least not in my opinion. You can tell I have a lot of thoughts about Security Breach. I have a lot of thoughts about Security Breach, but that's fucking 10 episodes down the road. I don't know, I just feel like there's no way Scott Cawthon would make you play as a character that then got murdered by a sociopathic serial killer at the end of it, you know? I'm not expecting that either, which is why changing the character to a child just way lowers the stakes. Again, I didn't script this video, so I haven't like done the math yet to see exactly where this falls in my ranking. But in my personal opinion, just off vibes, I think this is the most child-friendly one by far, and I think it was really not meant to be. I think this was meant to be a way more seriously toned one, but I think because it's trying so hard to tell an accurate story, again, no problem with that, it ends up toning down so many of the things that made the other games so horrific. There isn't even a child murderer in this game. Not really. I think it's kind of up in the air, right? I think this might have been retconned, but originally when the game first came out, like, we didn't even know if the kids getting stuffed into suits was even happening or not. So this game just feels like such a step back from all the horrificness that's been happening in this series. Toning it down, making our main character like not even really that worried about getting killed, making the deaths feel way less significant. All of it to me just feels like really toning it down. And again, this might have been sacrificed for the sake of the story, but I think later on in the series, that shit gets sacrificed in order to keep their child audience engaged and comfortable. This is my second Red Bull of the day, and I hope any of that made sense. I did not write it down beforehand, so I don't know. Anyways, I hope you all enjoyed watching this video. I can't wait for when I get to Security Breach because I have so many fucking thoughts about that game. I fucking hate that game. Oh, now you want to be quiet? Bitch, goddamn it. Anyways, thank you all so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you all in the next one. Bye.